Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is 189 episodes of the Manual Fawn Show. Now, of course, if you add it as its old show, The Stretch Goose, then you're looking at this is closing in on 400. I'm really proud of that number, actually. You know, that I've been able to produce this content consistently over the last, 10 years or so. I'm very proud that I've been able to, put out fairly coherent content at that. And I'm proud of the fact that I've also been able to experiment and with certain types of shows and write certain shows, and if you have any curiosity into what that looks like or what that may have been, then by all means, go look at the lost tapes of the Manual Font Show, or it'll be listed as like Stretch Goose or the Father and Son podcast or Bleacher Banter, or just individual episodes like the podcast. This podcast sucks, where we just kind of trash Smartless for a little bit. If you're really curious about the evolution, you should go check that out. It's actually quite interesting. Some of the audio was good, some of it is not. Mixes are good, mixes are bad. Music okay, music not okay. Some of the music is stolen, some of it is not, etc., etc. It's a channel into my mind, if you will, like how I was operating at the time or whatever. So go check that out. I think it's a good deal. And then compare, have I improved? Have I not? If if you think I have, let me know. If you think I haven't, let me know. But by and large, as a whole, thank you guys for listening, subscribing, downloading, making this podcast a top 200 in some countries. Thank you all for that. I appreciate that. And again, like I said yesterday's episode, I appreciate the interactions that I do get. I would like to get more, obviously. I would like to get some more feedback on things, some rebuttals on things, challenges on things. And, I can only grow from there, basically. Otherwise, I don't know if I'm getting, I don't know if I'm getting better or worse unless you guys tell me. So, but maybe your silence is enough, right? If you guys aren't talking, then I am stinking it up. Ooh, that's a concept. My mind just exploded. Anyway, today we're going to, as usual, go through the old episodes, news articles, not episodes. My apologies. And we are going to take another swing at the TikTok debater, Kramercash. He's going to talk about red state incompetence. And I don't want you to listen to the guy take in I'm going to play two videos because he kind of repeats himself twice. I'm going to play two videos of this. And I want you to really listen to what he is saying. And then we're going to obviously go have some fun with it. Don't pay attention to what the other guys are saying, because they really don't get a chance to speak, because he really does, I think he really does control the mute button on this. So let's have some fun.
Democrat-ran states are losing population. Why don't you live in California?
If Republican-ran states are such a beacon of good governance, why is it that they're the poorest states? Why are they the states with the most crime? Why is that the reality?
Because the living is lower there.
So then why are they poor? Why are they poor? Why do they not have as much health care? Why do their hospitals close down left and right? Why is it that it takes 20 minutes to get an ambulance?
No, they're not.
Rampant with crime. They're rampant with complete ineptitude and insanity. You got no mental health access in Appalachia. You got people strung out. You ever seen the Whitakers? They're over there barking like dogs. You got people who can't even speak English in West Virginia because they're so defunded and have no government services. That's not of any fault of their own, because they have a government that's flooded their neighborhoods with opioids and won't do a damn thing to take them out. Republican leadership is shit leadership. It is a shit sandwich. All it is just a man who literally took his trousers down, shit on a piece of bread, and fed it to the people. That's what your leadership is. You don't even understand.
Okay. All right, next video. He's going to say the same shit, but I want you to hear I want you to hear the beginning of this one.
Every major city that has been Democratic for 40, 60 years has absolutely destroyed itself.
Is that right? Let's talk about the poorest states that are perpetually poor in this country. West Virginia stays poor literally nonstop.
I was EMT in New Orleans, by the way.
With the lowest lifespans are routinely red states in this country. They're uneducated. It is literally states that have been left behind by their own government. You have nothing to say about West Virginia giving all of their tax money to their billionaire peddlers and not at all to their people. They have hospitals closing left and right. It takes 20 minutes to go get an ambulance in that state. You try to call an ambulance and nobody can get to you because red states have starved it while their billionaire donors literally go and sit and live lavish inside of their state capitals. It's hilarious to me.
You talked over and moved on.
I already gave you an answer.
What was that?
What, you gotta you gotta go get a drink now because you crashed out so much?
Every major city.
Okay. Again, just like yesterday, this fucking guy doesn't know the whole story or everything, or if he does, he's being a disingenuous piece of shit. So, is it true? Let's just start with this hospital thing. Is it true that hospitals are being closed? No, they are not hospitals being closed. They are long-term care facilities for the elderly, and they are being sold into privatization. That's not hospitals closing. It really isn't. You are going from a state-run facility into a privatized long-term. The long-term care facilities are being privatized. That's what's going on in West Virginia, and that's what Republicans are trying to do with that system, because when it was run by the state and a federal level, there was never enough money. So the idea of privatizing it would ensure funding. Way there wouldn't be any lapses in coverage. And that is a process that they're going through. So right now there's some pain in that. There's some suffering in that. But it is a solution that is being implemented to a problem in Medicaid coverages and all that stuff going on in West Virginia. And of course, there's groups that are saying that because it's going to be privatized, that they're going to be reducing services, whatever. We don't really know the extent of that until it actually fucking happens. So this whole thing about him saying that it's being closed due to poor governance is horseshit. Let's just start there. Is the response time an issue? Yes. In Mingo County, it's 16 minutes. Wayne County is 15 minutes. It's not 20 minutes. The benchmark usually is 5 minutes for life-threatening emergencies. So they aren't making it there. But they also say return to service is also delayed because after transporting the patients, ambulances in these counties can take an hour to return service due to long travel distances and limited staffing. That's one of the challenges that they're having. They're also an issue with the terrain. West Virginia is a very mountain heavy terrain, and the layout of its rural layout. Boy, when I write notes, guys, it drives me nuts when I can't read what I wrote. Rural layout. There you go. Makes rapid response difficult because they have a really hard terrain, which gets into the response time. And obviously, because the state doesn't fund the ambulances, there's always going to be an issue in funding. That stuff is privatized. They're trying to figure out other ways of getting extra trucks. A lot of it has to do with the business owner, not necessarily with the ambulances themselves. So for him, his claim that it has to do with the governance of the Republican Party is not true. It's not even close to being true. The long-term care facilities are what are being privatized. The hospitals are not. So there's still hospitals. What you're looking at is closures and consolidation of long-term care facilities being sold to private investors, with the hope that the funding is permanent to those facilities. In terms of the ambulances, The terrain makes it difficult. It's hard to get through the mountain ranges. It takes an hour to return to service. It's a remarkable feat to even get it to 15 minutes, like in Wayne County, for example. But in terms of extra EMS equipment and training and operations and vehicles, that's not funded by the state. That is due to privatization of this industry out there in West Virginia. So it's really on the business owner of that particular business to solve that problem. But what I wanted to dive into even more is his BS with the Republicans have destroyed all the entire West Virginia. They've destroyed it. They've ruined it. It's all their fault. And also the overall claim in the other video where he's talking about how the Republicans are the poorest of the poor all the time. Okay, here's the thing that I've always find interesting about Democrats, or blue donkeys in general, as I call them, is they never really want to acknowledge the entire story or the history of things. West Virginia was not a Republican stronghold from 1930 to 2014. It was Democratic governors, Democratic mayors, Democratic legislator, Democratic city councils, all across the board for nearly 80 years. The first time ever Republicans flipped the state was 2014. The first time it's ever happened. So how are you going to say that the Republicans are the ones that have made it the poorest ever, when for 80 years the Democratic Party made it the poorest ever and drove it straight into the ground? So you're going to sit there and you're going to say that the Republicans are the cause of the problem, but you're not. You have to acknowledge the governance of the Democratic Party for 80 years in West Virginia, and every decision that they have made throughout that state's 80-year history caused the crime rates, caused the dysfunction, caused the lapses in coverage and all these things, unemployment. It all falls at their doorstep. So once a Republican gets elected, like it happened in 2014, and they flip the chamber for the first time ever, all of a sudden it's, our hands are clean. It's all on you guys. But then when a Republican makes that claim, all these Democratic TikTok-y debaters like this guy are going to sit there and say, no, it's your fault. You're in charge. Really? Well, if that's true, then how could you, as he said yesterday in the other video, how do you blame Donald Trump? Joe Biden was president when it happened. So isn't it on him? You can't have it both ways. But this poor state thing was very fascinating for me because I had to look into this a little deeper. So Arkansas was democratically controlled in all forms of the legislature until 2010. Kentucky was off and on of split control. Tennessee flipped in 2008. Prior to that, the Democrats controlled Tennessee. Missouri was controlled up until 2010 by Democrats. Ohio was controlled primarily by Democrats until 2010, when the Republicans got the trifecta of all three branches of the governor, the mayor, the state and house legislations, all of that. So you kind of sit there and you go, okay, well, they've obviously been in charge of these states for at least 60, 70 years. Like that one guy had said, that the Democrats ruled the area for every major city has been ruled by Democrats for 46 years at the time of this guy's video. But he dismisses that entirely, and he sits there and goes, well, then how come the poorest states are Republican? But if you go back into the old back in time, you realize that a lot of these states he's referencing were democratically controlled up until about 2008 to 2010 or 2014 as with West Virginia. So again, you can't sit there and blame Republicans for those last 10 years and completely throw out 80 years, 100 years, 70 years of Democratic dominance in those states. All of the policies, all of the decisions that they've made contributed to the problem you have today. And you have to acknowledge that. And you can't just sit there and say, well, it's not our fault. It's their fault now because they're in charge. It's like, well, no, you were in charge and you made some dumb decisions with your policies that contributed to the unemployment, the homelessness, the crime rates, the high cost of living. You guys were a part of the problem. And you can't sit there and say that you weren't. You know, and then when you get into the crazier thing about like Mississippi, West Virginia, Kentucky, Alabama, they were the solid South. They were dominated by the Democratic Party from 1930 to 1990. A lot of that had to do with like the New Deal loyalties, Union strength, all that stuff. There was not a flip until the mid 60s, up until about 2000, when you started to see like a House seat would flip or a state Senate seat would flip, a governorship would flip here or there. But the entire Republican takeover didn't really start, like I said, until 2010, when you would see the governorship in both chambers and what they call the trifecta. So again, you can't sit here and make these claims knowing, or maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know or doesn't care, because he'll say it's irrelevant, maybe. Judging by the look on his face, he's probably going to say it's irrelevant. But you cannot sit there and make these claims that it's the Republican Party that's at fault for a lot of these issues when your party had their hand in the cookie jar or the sandbox, whatever you want to say it, for damn near a century. A century versus 10 years. There's a lot to clean up, and you need more than 10 years to clean it up. Let's just put it like that. And what's nuts about this, the poverty rank of these states. Mississippi is the poorest state in the nation, no matter who was in charge. Democrats were in charge all the way up until 2000. The 2020s, Republicans officially took control of all three branches. Think about that for a second. We're talking about hundreds of years of control, and they were still poor. They were still high crime rates. There was still problems in healthcare. And a Republican takes control, and his mindset is it's all your fault. That to me is interesting. It's kind of hilarious, actually, how that works. But when I look at other areas in terms of poverty, top 10, Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana, it's the same issue. But when I look at this PolitiFact thing, 95 of the 100 poorest counties are located in red states, though it doesn't mean GOP policies caused it. It's long-term structural challenges. Democrats had their nose in it as well. Of course, I'm going to just say this, and I'm going to end it like this. And this guy really, really is an idiot. He's dumb. He doesn't know anything. And he's not 100% on the level. And he's a guy that I would never debate because he is a bad faith debater. He's a guy that no one should even fucking talk to because he's full of shit. But I will say this. Poverty in the states predates Republicans. It really does. It goes way back in the time machine. Okay? And the shift in party dominance reflects broader cultural, economic, demographic changes. It's not a simple cause and effect, guys. Many of these states receive more federal aid than they pay in taxes, making them net recipients of the federal government. But it doesn't matter who the governor or the state legislator or the state house was, Democratic or Republican. It does not matter. These states were already there when the Democrats had 100% control. They lost that control a century later, and now they want to sit there and wash their hands of it. If you're a Republican and you're listening to Gavin Newsom talk his horse shit, and you're listening to guys like Kramer Cash, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. His real name is Isaiah, but Kramercash, I think, is his name. Online. These guys, do not let them get away with this. They are trying to wash their hands and pass the buck back to the Republicans, saying that we did nothing and we had no hand in this. We had no hand in this. And in 2 days, guys, I have just sat here on this microphone and gave you the Afghanistan history with this very TikTok debater. And today I'm telling you about the poorest states with the same TikTok debater. Can you imagine this thing getting bigger than that? Beyond this guy, Gavin Newsom's talking points about 71% of the GDP coming from blue states and blue counties, and he talks about the crime rates in red states being 10 times higher, 3 times higher than blue states, but he never fucking tells you. What Gavin Newsom won't tell you is that in Louisiana, when he's attacking Mike Johnson, saying that the crime rate is 150% higher than California, what he is not telling you is that there has never been in the biggest state the biggest city in Louisiana, there has never been a Republican leader in the mayor's office or in the city council in New Orleans since its inception, and that's almost 160 years. So those crime rates, those homeless rates, those housing rates, the FEMA, the disaster issues in New Orleans, all of that falls at the foot of the Democratic Party, not at the Republican Party. They have not even controlled that city for 160 years. So when he tells you that on camera and he's like, we're going to fight this, he's being very disingenuous. He's fucking lying to you. And until we as Republicans go, whoa, hold the fucking phone here. Back up. Let's go through some history. How could you sit there and say that this is our fault when you have controlled that city for 160 years? Or you have controlled what is considered the solid South for over 100 years before the Republicans finally took control of that area in 2010. You cannot sit there and say that it is 100% on the Republicans when you guys have had control over all of it. All of it. And that's just that's one of the things that drives me fucking crazy. Listen to what I'm saying, guys. If you're a conservative, if you're a Republican out there, and you want to jump onto these fucking stupid TikTok debates to prove some point, make sure your gun is loaded. And make sure that you put these guys in their place if you're going to do that. And if you're going to go in a more broader sense, like what I'm doing, make sure that you have your information in front of you so that people know in America that the Democratic Party, and okay, here's another issue that drives me nuts. The party switch. I don't give a shit. Once that party switched, if it switched at all, those are the parties going forward, right? So who cares how they got there? The point is they're there. Okay? And if that switch is what makes the Republicans of today, and what makes the Democrats of today, if that is because of the switch, then so be it. It happened. It is what it is. These are the players now. Okay? We cannot go and try to convince anybody of that. This is who we are now. And no, it is not a contradiction of what I'm saying in terms of what happened back then with these states. My point with that is you cannot blame the Republican Party for all the sins that were committed by the Democratic Party hundreds of years of control. You cannot put that on them. That's what I'm saying in terms of the states and how we controlled what and what did that. But this thing about the party switch, I don't care how it got there. The point is, we're here. These are the guys in charge. Those are the things that need to be addressed. Those are the things that we have to fucking come forward with. We can't sit here and take this bullshit from the Democratic Party. Especially, Donald Trump did one thing. If there's one thing that he did in his political career, is he tore the mask off and he threw punches. And now the Democrats are trying to emulate that. Don't let them do it. Smack them down immediately. Put them in their place at the least. Don't allow them to continue to talk the way that they are right now. Just don't do it. And what you're going to get, if they get pushback, what you're going to get is this: they're gonna sidestep, evade, they're gonna mute, block, they're gonna throw you away because they cannot sit there and have an actual conversation on the issues. Wow, that took longer than I thought, guys. Okay, we're going to get to those stories tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed my, I guess you can say, incoherent rant and rebuttal of our friend here. I think his first name is Isaiah because every one of his videos says Isaiah obliterates. Isaiah obliterates. So his name's got to be Isaiah. What I would love to, but even though, again, this is, I don't debate these guys because they will mute, block, throw you away. These guys are not worth a full-blown debate with because they will abandon ship. Anyway, again, if you like it, share it, subscribe, tell a friend. Thank you all for listening. See you tomorrow. Later.